Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Morty and Glory video. Today we are going to be doing another quick tip Tactica. This time we're going to be taking a look how you can create the Scion Death Ball. In case it's your first time catching one of these videos, how it works is I like to go through these cool yet also very effective little combinations that you can put together using the new guard book. Many of these are what I like to call plug and play tactics, where essentially you can happily plug them into your existing guard army and you should see a very definite power boost to your list. They're not focused on you having to collect a certain specific kind of net list or you having to take a certain theme of guard army. They absolutely can be included in pretty much any kind of Imperial Guard force, and they are a great way of newer players starting to get to grips with the Codex and understand the powerful combinations that lie within it. But without further ado, let's crack on with today's video, and I will take you through how you can build this very effective combination, which I like to call the Scion Death Ball. So what do you need to make this tactic work? Well, it is a Scion Death Ball, so you're probably going to need some Militarm Tempestus Scions. In fact, I would recommend you take 3 big squads. That's 3 fully fleshed out 10-man units. In each one of those squads, you are going to want 4 special weapons. You are going to want to take 2 plasma guns and 2 hotshot volley guns. You're also going to want to chuck in a Voxcaster in there. Why not? It's free. And also, you're going to want to equip your sergeant with some weapons as well. Now, if it was up to me, I would try and keep my sergeant relatively cheap. I'd probably give him a hotshot las pistol and maybe a chainsword. But if you've got a few points to spare, you could slap on a plasma pistol on this guy as well. But the main focus of this unit is going to be on those special weapons, the plasma guns and the hotshot volley guns. So once you've got your 3 big units of Scions together, you're going to need to give them some leadership, and you're going to start with a Scion command squad. Now, in that command squad, you are going to want a regimental standard because reroll 1s to wound is very nice, and you're probably also going to want to have a Master Vox because having long range orders is pretty good when it comes to tactical flexibility. Now, the other 2 remaining Scions, you're probably going to want to give them a hotshot volley gun and a plasma gun. You don't really need a medic in this unit. It's not going to be on the front lines. It's not a dreadnought. So instead, having more firepower in this squad will make more sense. Now, the Tempesta Prime himself is going to be armed with whatever free weapons you can give him, be it a chainsword or whatever. But the most important thing you're going to want to give him is that command rod, because the command rod allows him to do Perfector's orders to friendly Scion squads. Perfector's orders add a lot of tactical flexibility, means you can do things like remain vigilant, you can do actions while still being able to shoot. It really does add more tools into the toolbox. So that command rod is very, very important. You're also going to want to spend a CP on Officer Cadre to give that Tempesta Prime a Warlord trait, and you're going to want to give him Drill Commander. That is very, very important and is fundamental to getting the Scion Death Ball to work. Now, once you've got all of the Tempestus boys together, you do need one more unit to make this work, and that will be a Cadian Castellan. Cadian Castellans are a really good senior officer, and the big thing about them is they do give out that reroll 1s to hit aura, which, as you can imagine with a unit like Scion, which is going to be really focused on doing a lot of firepower, having reroll 1s to hit is very, very nice indeed. So now that we've brought all of these disparate elements together and we are forming them into a cohesive Death Star unit, how does it all work? Well, like I mentioned, the Cadian Castellan is going to give out reroll 1s to hit, which is very nice. Now, combine that with the fact that you can issue the take aim order to your Scions, you are going to have a group of 30 Scions that are going to be hitting on 2s rerolling 1s. That gives you an incredibly high level of accuracy and also means that you are going to be having rerolls on those plasma guns. Now, we're taking 6 plasma guns in this death ball, so there's going to be an opportunity for those things to explode and maybe kill their users, because of course you're overcharging. You're always going to overcharge them. They do so much more damage when you overcharge them, but you don't want your Scions to end up killing themselves. So having those reroll 1s allows you to get more out of your plasma guns and also do it safely. In addition to having reroll 1s to hit, they're also going to have reroll 1s to wound thanks to the command squad and that regimental standard. So you've got an incredibly high level of accuracy with a lot of firepower, and you're also going to have reroll 1s to wound, which means that you're going to be not only hitting, but you're going to be hurting your opponent. Combine that with the fact that we've got take aim on this unit, it means the minimum AP in the shots coming out of these squads is going to be AP -3. That's going to start overwhelming even Arm of Contempt units in cover. It just is a lot of firepower coming out of this death ball. But we've not even got to the best bit yet. This alone would be worth it and would work and would be very, very nice. But you might be saying to yourself, Mordy and Glory, why wouldn't I do this with Kazakin? Kazakin can get extra regimental doctrines on top. They can get hotshot snipers as well. Why wouldn't I do this with Kazakin? Well, you can do it with Kazakin, but the reason we're doing it with Scions is that warlord trait, Drill Commander. Drill Commander is one of the most fantastic and powerful warlord traits in the Guard Codex. What it allows you to do is fire rapid fire weapons at maximum shots at any range. That means if you've got a 24-inch range hotshot lasgun that's rapid fire 1, instead of firing 1 shot at 24-inch range, it's going to fire 2. It's always firing its maximum number of shots. Now, that sounds pretty good with hotshot lasguns. It starts sounding really, really great when you think about double tapping plasma guns from 24 inches away, max firing hotshot volley guns from 30 inches away. Overall, it just means that your Scions are always firing at maximum output at any range. And this ability for Scions to double tap at maximum range is something that Kazakin simply cannot do or emulate in any way. And so it means that the Scions have such a greater damage output across the game, because from turn 1, the moment that they're able to get into range and stuff, they are blasting away at maximum damage output, whereas it might take the Kazakin a couple of turns to start doing the same amount of damage output. Don't get me wrong, Kazakin are a fantastic unit and one of the best ones in this book. But in just this particular scenario, this situation, this combination that we are putting together, you are better off going with the Scions. They just simply put out more damage. This is especially true considering that they get a datasheet ability called Stormtroopers. Now, Scions don't get access to regiment traits, something that I think a lot of people hold against them, but Stormtroopers is kind of like their special regimental doctrine. Essentially, they get exploding 6s to hit. Now, that is actually in combat as well, which is kind of nice because Scions get 2 attack space, but that's not really the focus of what we're looking at today. Getting exploding 6s with all of that long range DACA is so good. The fact that you're doing maximum shots at any range means that you've got more chances of triggering those exploding 6s and just getting even more damage output from your Scions. I mean, if you do the maths on it, you're going to be putting out from each one of these squads 8 hotshot volley gun shots plus 4 plasma shots plus an additional about 20 hotshot lasgun shots, which means in total you're looking at 32 shots coming from each one of these Scion squads. That is going to trigger on average an extra 5 exploding hits. That is very nice, and it means that overall, when you fire the squad of Scions, considering you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, you're going to be hitting with nearly everything, a squad of Scions shooting should pretty much always end up with more shots than they actually fired thanks to Stormtroopers. If you're lucky, you'll get 32 shots, 32 hits, and that'll actually translate into about 37 hits on average thanks to the exploding 6s. Now, I mentioned earlier that you want to put a command rod on your Tempesta Prime, and the reason for this is because a unit like this is often something that your opponent is going to try and tie up in close combat. They may try and get into a firefight with you, but if they do, that's actually a scenario that you want to happen, because this Scion unit is going to outshoot most things that your opponent can throw at it. That means that many opponents are going to go, right, if I can't outshoot it, I need to hit guard in the weak spot, which is often close combat. So they'll try and tie you up. The great thing about having that command rod is it allows you to do Perfector's orders. Specifically, it allows you to get back in the fight. That means that you can fall back from combat with your Scion squad, use get back in the fight, and you can still shoot. Now, you won't be hitting on 2s because you won't have take aim, but you will still be hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, which is still pretty accurate. So the great thing is that this is a firepower unit that your opponent has to wipe out. He can't just try and tie up with some cheap intercessors or space bees or something like that. He has to wipe out, because if he doesn't, it is going to be hitting him turn after turn after turn. One little side note to mention, which is that it actually can be quite difficult for your opponent to even get into range of these guys with assault units, because bear in mind, you don't need to get up close and personal. The whole advantage of this unit is that it's doing maximum DACA from a 24-inch range. There's no need for you to really advance closer than that unless you're trying to move on to objective or something. So if your opponent does manage to get into combat with it, you can fall back, but unless he's running something that's pretty fast moving or has the fly ability, you're probably not going to have to worry about it too much, but that's why we take the command rod for those situations that you can't plan for. Now, this is the base level, the entry tier, the bronze package for the Scion Death Ball. There are actually 2 or 3 things that you can add onto this to get even more power out of it. But every single one of these options is either going to cost you more points or more command points. So it's really up to you how much you invest in this unit. So the first thing you can do to power up this Death Ball even more is give the Scion Command Squad the finale of the Nemrudesh first relic, also known as the Big Bullshit Banner. What the Big Bullshit Banner does is it allows you to ignore any to hit modifiers, and your opponent cannot use any kind of save that would deny them from losing a wound. So that doesn't mean they can't use armor saves and vulnerable saves. What that means is they can't use things like feel no pains or shrugs, and they also can't use wound caps. So the reason you would give the banner to the Scion Command Squad is it would mean that even if you're shooting over some sort of dense terrain, even if your opponent has got some sort of inbuilt -1 to hit or some sort of stratagem, you don't care. You ignore all kinds of -1 to hit modifiers. And also it means that if you come across something that is traditionally resilient to shooting, something with an inbuilt wound cap like a Catan or a Baden, you don't care because they can't use their wound cap to stop them from losing wounds. So this is a really easy way, just chuck an extra command point at this thing, and it gives you quite the significant power boost. Now, another thing that you could do that's not quite as good, but it's still certainly an option, is you could take a second Scion Command Squad and you could give the Tempesta Prime in that unit another Warlord trait, and you could do precision targeting. Now, how precision targeting works is friendly, middle-armed, Tempesta infantry units that are within 6 inches of the Warlord can essentially ignore cover. That's both, light cover and dense cover. Now, of course, you might say, but Morning Glory, why would you bother with this if you're taking the Big Bullshit Banner? Well, I would say that these 2 power-ups are mutually exclusive, but you might want to consider the precision targeting Warlord trait. Keep it in the back of your mind because you might have to put the Bullshit Banner somewhere else in your game plan. Maybe you're running a big unit of Kazakin alongside the Scion Death Ball. Well, maybe the Kazakin will be better off with the Big Bullshit Banner, whereas you can emulate a lot of the effects of the Big Bullshit Banner by using the precision targeting Warlord trait. That way, you're kind of getting 2 units that are going to ignore a lot of to hit modifiers throughout the game. But when it comes to powering up the Scion Death Ball specifically, you don't need both. Now, another way that you could power up this Death Ball is by using the Refractive Field Generator Relic. You see, this tactic does have one key flaw, which is that Scions aren't that durable. I mean, they're toughness 3 infantry with a 4+ save. Most people's spare firepower is just going to deal with them quite easily. But if you take the Refractive Field Generator, it will give pretty much all of these sounds a 5+ invulnerable save, and that is a big difference. Now, I believe, you could correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but let me know down in the comment section, but I think you can put the Big Bullshit Banner and the Refractive Field Generator in the same unit because it's not the same model carrying 2 relics. The banner guy in the command squad will be carrying the Big Bullshit Banner, and the Tempesta Prime will be carrying the Refractive Field Generator. However, I could be wrong on that. It could be limited to 1 unit, can only take a relic. So let me know down in the comment section if I'm wrong about that. But assuming that you can take both of these relics, it would mean that you would have a very durable Death Ball. That 5+ vulnerable save is meaning 33% of all damage coming in, it's just going to get stopped. And also the fact that the damage output that you're doing would be even higher means that you'd be able to win those firefights even easier and really get the most juice out of the Death Ball. The main disadvantage of just stacking everything on from Refractive Field Generator to the Big Bullshit Banner is that it's going to start costing you a lot of CP. I mean, you're looking at this unit needs 1 CP just for the Drill Commander Warlord trait. For the 2 more relics, they're looking at 3 CP, all being spent on a single command squad. You may not want to be so heavily invested into a single unit. If you think, hang on, I really don't want to have to spend that CP if I don't want to, 3 CP on a single unit seems a little bit rich for my blood. I might not even ever have to use that 5+ invulnerable save, or that Big Bullshit Banner may never actually come into play. If that's the way you feel, then what I would say is consider going with the base level of the command squad with just the Drill Commander. And if you find that you need a little bit more durability, don't forget you do have a stratagem called Immovable Indoctrination, which does allow you to increase the durability of your Scion squads. Essentially how that works, guys, is the attack's wound roll cannot be re-rolled, and you worsen the armor penetration characteristic of the attack by 1. Essentially, you can give one of your Scion squads Armor of Contempt for a phase. But overall, that is the Scion Death Ball tactic. The end result is you are going to end up with 30 Scions that will easily be able to achieve well over 100 hits, with all of those shots being at a minimum of AP -3. A very efficient and very powerful combination. The one thing you do want to bear in mind is that it is going to set you back between 400 and 500 points. So it is pricey, but it does put out a hell of a lot of DACA. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Are you enjoying Scions in the new book, or do you think that it's Kazakin for life? Let me know down in that comment section. If you've enjoyed today's video, make sure you smash that like button like it's a big titty out our girlfriend, and also subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode. If you really enjoyed today's video and you want to go the extra mile when it comes to supporting the channel, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. It is thanks to the generous support of my channel members, of my patrons, that I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time, and I'm able to put extra effort into every single one of these videos and come up with more and more combinations from the new book. One of the big perks of becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter is you gain access to the Mordian Glory Discord, which is an online community with over 700 active members. It is always popping off in the MG Discord. There's always someone to talk to about tactics, hobbying, painting, or just anything in general. So if that sounds like a ton of fun, make sure you become a channel member or Patreon supporter and dive into the Discord. And I'd just like to take a moment to say a big thank you to the latest channel members. So massive thank you to Orange Gills, Dylan Smith, Mike Zisby, James Funchal, Big Lab Rat, Jim Hamilton, Mike, Yin Singh, Radu Yankin, Jeremiah Garish, David Newby, Chris Miles, Adam Kirby Jones, War Machine, Anti-Imperialist, Martin Wright, and Inks. Thank you guys for your channel membership. Thank you for doing your part. I also want to say a big thank you to the latest Patreon supporters as well. So a massive 07 for Rob, Sam, Brett, Chansey, Benjamin, Justin, Devin, Canadian Goose, Samuel, Jed, David, Jessica, and Simon. Thank you guys for your ongoing Patreon support. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal, heartfelt thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are the War Masters, the people that have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to supporting the channel. So a massive thank you to Bonbon Vert, Phil French, Ross Miller, Tekwal, Alex Dengal, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Swordfish Trombone, Diesel Fox, Tom Sutton, and of course, Sly Varney, the one-man super chatting army. Massive thank you to all of you guys. Your very generous support is a big, big reason of how I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time. So thank you so much. I hope you've all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.